Hello everyone, welcome to Encoded Frequencies with Katie. If you're new to this channel, this is a space where I am interested in using sound and light and channeling to help us all clear out the distortion, the stagnancy that we may have experienced in this life, clearing from our ancestral lines, clearing from our quantum field so we can all embody what it is to feel connected to our soul, connected to our power, connected to our presence, to just feel good on planet Earth, because I myself know that I've felt terrible at times on planet Earth and I'm bored of that game and I'm committed to helping other people feel better too. So this is a video about something that's really exciting and inspiring and kind of nerve-wracking to me, which is exploring ancient Egyptian consciousness. It begins next week. Lightworker's Activation 4 is a series of different clearings and activations on this topic. But I just felt like making a video about things that I've seen in my life, in my quantum explorations through past life regression and through just witnessing trauma leave my body when I have my own energy clearings. I have a few special people that work on my energy, and it's like so painful and so amazing to be able to like watch the lifetimes play out. So I feel the energy leave and then I watch what happened, which is good and also not good, because I'm like, it kind of like sticks in your mind, but that's okay. I wanted to explore templates that might be holding you back in this life from ancient Egyptian civilization and ancient Egyptian lifetimes where you maybe were in power. Maybe you weren't in power. Maybe you lost your power. Maybe you lost your voice. Maybe you gave away aspects of freedom. Whatever it is, I'm really interested in digging deep and restructuring deep within the quantum field to restructure and reharmonize to our total God Source self. And on the higher realm, in the clearing and activation, I'm really inspired to activate more multidimensional fractals of ourself to be online in this human body, dormant strands of consciousness and experiences within our quantum field to activate parts that we already spent time developing. I always say, when I used to teach energy, nothing that you're learning is new. Nothing that you're doing is new. You're repeating things and learning things from different perspectives, but if you can embody, and if I can embody the perspective that we're already masters of light, that we're already on some level fully psychic, fully healed, fully empowered, fully activated, and that's a layer within our template, maybe a bit wider out, that we have, or maybe deeper within as our core centric signature energy. And there are these templates that are restricting and creating doubt and limitation over the top of. Once we can wipe that away, we can return to wholeness. So what are some of the things that you might be holding from ancient Egyptian timing? Here are 5 things that I think that I see the most. 1, a fear of power, both positive and negative. I know for myself that, I'm just going to speak from my perspective, there was a timeline in ancient Egyptian timing. I think there are lots of different rises and falls and handing over of dynasties and different temples and different monarchs and hierarchies that have come to power in ancient Egypt and then eventually been wiped out by other civilizations, galactic and otherwise, and human. So I have a memory of using my power for not good. So you might have an unconscious fear right now that you might get too powerful, or that you don't trust yourself. What's that saying? One of the biggest fears people have is not being not good enough. It's being amazing. It's being powerful, right? So I have a memory of being not fully human in this body. And I just remember this temple. It's only in little visions that I get, but I remember a temple, and I remember, I feel so bad, having power and control over more humans, more mortal type of people. And there are 3 of us. There are these 3 figureheads that did something, and we tricked. I feel so bad. We tricked a bunch of beings, right? And that felt so bad. So I watch that life and I see how that played out. I obviously ended that life and everything is now, but I ended that life, and you can restructure those timelines. And I've learned the lesson that don't take anyone's power, don't hurt anyone. But how that played out in this life is like overgiving. If you give and you give and you give and you don't take time to honor and respect yourself, a huge part of me my whole life has been quite good at the piano or quite good at these things, but I would never like make that known. I would downplay myself so much to be like, nah, me, no. Or I would downplay my abilities and be like, oh, I'm just doing this. I'm just doing a little bit of energy. But actually, who's that helping? Like, who is it helping for you to pretend to be small? People need to see the truth. People need to benefit from your abilities, benefit from your gifts. Be the highest level that you can be and help people and own that and come from it from a space of neutrality. I am that I am, and I am what I am. And it's not good, it's not bad, it's just what I am, right? So in the clearing activation, I really want to release one, the fear of power or misusing your power, misusing your gifts. And you might be like, that's not me. But let's just wait and see, because when you're in the clearing and when I'm opening the quantum field for everyone, it's really interesting to see how some people don't think that they have that. And then you go deeper into the field and you're like, damn, that actually does resonate with me, because it's outside of this human personality construct and deeper in your soul's frequency, right? And then on the opposite side, fear of power. So not having enough power, being mistreated, being abused, being misrepresented, having your power stripped from you. There are lots of memories I have of, I remember being used as like a kind of like a sex slave, or just, I have a lot of memories being in a temple, being in pyramids, being in that like kind of landscape in my consciousness. And I have a distinct memory of, I remember there was this like one being, and he was the head of this collectives, and they'd all come from another planet, and they arrived on Earth, and they said, you are not to use your power anymore, you are not to use your gifts. And I made this like promise, right? So I made this vow, and in this human life I went back and I replayed that out and I cleared those vows. But what he had done is dismembered my body, and there are pieces of me laying all around this like one area in the earth, and I had to like go and get those pieces and reclaim those parts of me. But it was like so painful to do that, right? So you may have made promises back in the day that said, I'm gonna be real quiet about what it is that I do, because off with your head, right? Yeah, lots of different positive and negative aspects of power playing, clearing out from ancient Egypt. They're saying there's a lot of greed. Let's just get a channeled message. There was a lot of betrayal. There was a lot of greed. There was a lot of pulling the wool over people's eyes. There was a lot of people being in charge, but actually other entities and other energies using them as puppets. So those who we thought were in charge, spiritual leaders, were not. They were being puppeteered by other energies. So there's been a lot of, they're saying if you have a fear of being spiritually hijacked, so if you're ever worried to get into your channeled state and that in the transmission you're going to channel something negative or something is moving through you, let's absolutely break that down and look at that. One, that's a terrible feeling. And two, it's disempowering, because ultimately nothing can affect your frequency unless you allow it through fear or restriction or regret or grief or these lower energies. So clearing out the fear of being spiritually hijacked from ancient Egyptian timelines, or just any timelines in general, is really important if you want to be, using your channel, using your gifts, which everyone does, because it's deeply healing and it's the way forward to embody the higher consciousness and ground that and earth that and embody that in this time, in this era. So we're definitely going to be restructuring power, because what I want and I hope everyone wants to come to, as a space of neutrality. There is not power over, there is power with. Power in numbers for all of us standing in our light and our truth and saying, this is what I am, this is what I can do, this is what I'm here for, how can I help, right? There's no ego, I'm better, there's no hierarchy. So one, clearing and releasing the templates of power over or power under within ancient Egyptian timelines. Two, the wounds of betrayal. So if you've ever felt like within the spiritual community, it's like persecution, but it's also betrayal. And I think that they're two separate things. The betrayal of what it is within spiritual communities to inevitably feel like someone's going to backstab you, or someone's going to help you a little bit, but then they're going to take something from you, or they're going to like lead you off your path. So I had a teacher that I felt very connected to from ancient Egyptian timelines, and then I felt like a sense of diminishment and ultimately betrayal. And when I tune into the spiritual community, I feel like scared to connect with other people because I have had this unconscious feeling and sensation that someone ultimately is going to throw me under the bus or betray me or disseminate lies or whatever, right? And I think we all have this in our just human lives. It's many people, it's prevalent to feel betrayed by our family members or the ones that are closest to us. So what my intention is in this activation is to release, how do I explain, betrayal consciousness from times where others have sought power over us or pulled the wolves over our eyes, and we've ultimately been led into the lion's den. Because every message that I get in sessions at the moment is like codes of remembrance that in 2025 you are safe. This is the time where you are actually really safe, that's not going to happen again to you. So even though you might not consciously remember these experiences, there might be an encoded muscle memory or a cellular memory or an energetic impression of this unconscious fear that you're going to be led astray, or don't connect with other spiritual people, or don't just people, right? Everything is spiritual. And let unity consciousness and interconnectivity be the new template of operation, so you make it safe for other people to feel safe to connect to you. So embodying the antithesis of betrayal as peace and purity and honesty, or whatever it is, respect for others, is really important. So clearing betrayal consciousness and activating one, healthy discernment of other people and not propagating negative potentials, so you can actually foster relationships and connections with other light workers in a really neutral and healthy and empowering and joyful and connective way. Another thing that I would like to clear is like the servant's oath, and like releasing hierarchical imprints and structures. So the servant's oath is like vows that you've made to remain in worship to the deities, to the gods, to the figurehead, to the leader, rather than the vow you've made to experiencing yourself as a God source being, experiencing yourself as an empowered fractal of consciousness. This might show up as like, I don't know, if you watch people on YouTube and you think like, wow, they're so amazing, I could never be like that, or my gifts are only this good and this person is better than me, therefore I feel ashamed or I feel less than. One of the biggest things that will kill your psychic abilities or your connection to source is comparison, and is offloading your power into other people's hands. Like, of course, allow lightworkers to give their gifts and use it with discernment, and use it if it benefits you, and use your gifts to help other people, like an infinity symbol of my heart to your heart and your heart to the world and the world back into everyone else. But definitely in this transmission, I want to clear oaths and contracts that you've made to just be small, just be adoring and like the guru, and giving like awe into something so magnificent. You can respect things, but you can remain self-reverent. And that brings me into also like attached to that is like the attachment of hierarchies, that there's like the novice, the apprentice, there's the priestess, there's like the powerful ones. We want to be deconstructing any type of hierarchical energies like that, because everyone is here to walk their own path, and everyone can acclimatize their consciousness to any level, any rate. I feel like back in ancient Egypt, there were kind of more rigid formats. You either were a priestess and you weren't. And this isn't disrespecting the path and the discipline and the energetic frequency it takes to embody and hold that. But I think that if you feel in this life that you always need to do another course, that you need to just do one more lesson and then you're good enough to share your gifts, one more activation, I just need to study a bit more, always feeling like the underdog, this is maybe a lifetime to release that, because at the end of the day, we're all such complex multidimensional beings living our own little timelines. You can be whatever you want to be if you have the time and energy and dedication. There is no hierarchy. And you know what? Sometimes you came here to live a life that wasn't the priestess. You came here to live the life that's just like a really good mom or a really good dad and learn some humble lessons. It's not about the glory and the fame and being the ultimate goddess. Like maybe your life is just, maybe you have a child who's in a wheelchair and your job is to be in service to another being. There are still karmic things that are playing out. So in this activation, I'd like to release any type of limiting hierarchical structures that are unconsciously stagnating you or restricting you from just feeling safe to own and honor whatever it is that you know and hold that light. And then of course the fun part is, what are you going to replace it with? A lot of my gifts, I feel like, have been activated through just templates of remembrance of what I used to do, of what parts of my frequency did in other realms, in other incarnational expressions, and that energy did not die, did not go, it is still active. So what's so cool about quantum activations like this is literally tethering and restructuring into the DNA, into the cellular memory, into the energetic field, your gifts to be a songstress, your gifts to be a healer, your gifts to be a clairvoyant, your gifts to be a channel, your gifts to be an oracle, your gifts to be a wayseer, a grid shower, whatever, right? So if you have gifts from the whole spectrum of ancient Egyptian consciousness, which was a big fat chunk of time, or I don't know how many incarnations you've had in those cycles, you are able to activate that power here and now in this body. As long as your energy body is prepped and can run and hold that light, caring for the physical body is really important, but I'm all about activating gifts and frequencies of total expansion and empowerment for anything that was resonant in the ancient Egyptian time. So I've made a little PDF download to download below. If you want to explore more about your own connections to ancient Egyptian timelines and understand yourself deeper, go and look at that. Go and do a meditation on YouTube to connect into ancient Egyptian consciousness and see what you see within yourself within that time. And if you want to go really deep, Lightworkers 4 is going to be pretty full on. I feel like this Egyptian recalibration, there's a transmission recorded and then there's a live activation next Tuesday. So I'd love for you to join me there. But yeah, go forth and I guess feel empowered that multidimensional energy can shift these stagnating patterns that might be affecting your human right now. And one little place you could look is ancient Egyptian consciousness. There are many beings and masters and frequencies of light that are ready to help you. So just always ask for help on your path and you're going to get to where you're wanting to go. Sending all my love.